morning to one and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another conversation of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. Often we are told that leaders are born and not made. But if that were to be so, then what is it that goes into the making of these leaders? And when we do talk about leaders that are most often in the public vision, what is it that makes them take away from the public life? We're here to know more about one such leader, and we have with us Mr. Anil Nama, who's the CIO of Control S. Good morning, Mr. Nama. Thank you so much for being here with us, for
Morning.
so gracefully sharing your time. Uh, I wanted to begin by asking you a little bit about your initial formative years, because we're often told that our earliest teachers are our parents. Were there any early life lessons that helped shape you, that helped make you the person you are today?
Sure. I mean, the parents and the childhood always has a deep impact on the human. So my own childhood was spent around UP in Allahabad, which is also known as Sangam, and
Right.
Delhi. And the impact was there from especially my father. So my father was a technical head. He was of a company known as Triveni Structurals Limited, part of Vital Pine, and he was responsible for making TV towers and helical dam gates that we see today, right from Nagarjuna to each one of them.
Wow.
And his approach in simple terms of technology, we still remember asking for what he used to do, and he used to explain each and every of those drawings to us. Next, he was very interested in us picking up practical life examples. So
Okay.
our outings were to industrial plants like IFCO, like Bharat Pumps and Compressors, ITI. So whichever will the plants that we had, we went with him. We understood the whole process, and it was like a day out of the family in which he used to explain how they were engineered, how they were delivered, what were the finished goods. And that inquisitiveness or curiosity to produce good finished goods is something that has helped me throughout my life, throughout the career that I have, and it has been one of the major aspects for my growth.
So, Mr. Nama, if I were to then ask you to try and distill your leadership style or the values or whatever defines your leadership, how would you describe it if I were to ask you that?
So my leadership style would, you could name it as more like transformational leader, because whichever products or in IT, whatever you do, every 2 years things change. And of late, with the advent of cloud and IoT, it has been changing annually. Now,
Correct.
keeping your teams motivated, keeping your technology up to date, keeping up your processes, work division to deliver the same quality of goods for the bleeding edge or the leading edge technologies. That requires a lot of transformation work. It's not only in adopting the technologies, but it also working with people, their motivations. It's also going into the finer details of the processes which impact the product and changing them in an organic manner. You do a merger and acquisition in organics, but the same team, if it is motivated and it takes up new challenges, delivers new products for the companies, that is what has been my leadership style. Early years, when I was part of armed forces, at that time I was part of computer network offense and defense teams. That was also leading edge, leading edge. Then in Airtel, when I joined after my armed forces, it was just a concept that could we make money from the data centers uh, that could lead into the MSS or the switching systems, be an IT systems being break even. And that is how that data factory was formed with the purchase of few data centers, very small. And within 5 years, we broke even, taking 30% space in every place of them with
Right.
customers like Hindustan Times, Hero Honda and all. And then when I joined Control S, a similar such journey started because Control S had Hyderabad. Hyderabad was neither the capital of India like Delhi, nor IT hub like Bangalore, and neither it was a finance capital like Mumbai. And so we embarked our journey on managed services using DR on demand. We built up several different types of cloud. One of them is SAP Community Cloud. And now, if you see in the last 2 years, we are now one of the top seven partners of Azure. We have decent workloads in AWS and in GCP. Same team delivering throughout, picking up newer and newer skills, developing the processes, and providing the finished goods as per the existing requirements of uh, our customers. That has been the hallmark of my journey.
That's fascinating for us to go through your journey like that, Mr. Nama. A little bit about more current affairs, because 2020 has been a year that's upended so many norms. It's changed so many working styles. It's changed so many organizations. What have been your big learnings or your big observations from the year gone by?
2020, it started with COVID. We got early indications because our customers are pretty big and we are also quite big buyers of hardware. And so when computer shipments started to get affected in Jan, we got an inclination. By Feb, we had already embarked on a five-stage plan. So initially, we made changes in the front offices. We ensured that everybody was moved out of desktops onto the laptops. At the second stage, we started to restrict entry. Now we are somewhere around about the mid of Febs. So we restricted the entries of our own employees into our buildings and we started to divide them into groups working out from the home. And then thereafter, when the clamp down happened, then we started to look at the back office. The key learning in COVID was around the back office, which is about billing and collections, the performance management, the admins, the legal, and we picked up a lot of small niche applications. Even though you have central applications, but there's a lot of work that goes on within these teams that's never captured like an IT delivery. So we looked at those processes. There were few great improvements that we achieved. One was the collaboration of the billing with the sales and delivery because they were part of revenue. So that collaboration system, we brought them online on our ticketing system. The second was legal. With the advent of digital signatures, with the advent of DocuSigns, suddenly the legals were not taking weeks and months. It was down to days. And then the people aspect led to a whole new experiment in the HR management systems, where we had to bring in a specialized role of HR business partners because as people started to become COVID fatigued, as the working started to move inside the home, there's a lot of change at a personal level or in the personal space that happened to the employees. And to overcome these challenges, we deployed the HR business partners who used to raise the early symptoms. And then we had a team of specialists for counseling. We tied up with a few of the best consultants, and they brought about those changes. Finally, it all led into the change in the way we work. That's very evident today. Something that we didn't believe in Jan, that you could deliver IT services or manage the services of servers for banks, for other institutions from home is very evident today. What's happening now? There is something of the view that can we keep at least 60 to 70% of our manpower working from home? That is leading us to relook at all our processes as on date. We are segregating the clerical tasks from the intelligent tasks or IQ-led tasks. And for these clerical tasks, we have made very small teams. Of course, there has to be a nebula to support the data center operations like the electrical, the mechanical, the data center operations guy. They need to be present on site. But all the back office work of clerical, like receipt of material, receipt of letters, dispatch, etc., is being segregated into a function known as admin function. And with this, we are hoping that 50 to 60% of our people will be given a choice for long-term work from home, where they need not come inside the data center premises. And the data center guys itself, after the COVID, it has developed into a new revenue stream where our large customers who used to keep small teams on site in the data center, they are now looking at offloading the same type of tasks. For example, booting up a server, for example, laying out a cable from one server to another. So you can think of it as a smart hands kind of job, which requires certain IT knowledge. And these so that has created this new revenue stream where they also don't want to come to the data center, but they want to be reasonably assured that their hardware, their data is all looked after. So that's the transition that we are presently going into. Overall, from a 30,000 view, what COVID has taught us that it's a human inhibition to look at alternate models,
Mm.
prevent us from experiencing. The crisis always brings out the best in the people. The kind of loyalty shown by the employees, the kind of adaptation shown by the people, the kindness given to us by our customers during these trying time has led to a new order. And we feel that this order is there to stay, and that every crisis, such crisis, gives us a new thinking, a new way to work.
I think that's a very, very apt way of looking at it, Mr. Nama, because, like you correctly alluded to, history is also proof to humanity adapting to crises for centuries now, not just a recent thing over the even last century for that matter. Um, Over your long professional career, has there been any particularly memorable conversation you've had with a CEO or with a senior of yours that sticks to your mind?
Well, the most dynamic CEO that I have till date is my current CEO, which is Sridhar Reddy. And when I joined this company, it was just a startup. He has a lasting influence on my life. I remember the kind of confidence that he has when he discusses business problem with his employees. The most memorable was when we were crossing the 100 crore turnover benchmark, and we were planning for a 1,000 crore benchmark. Of course, we are 2x of it now. But at that time, he embarked on a separate conversation, which was not about technology or about process. What he talked about was how do we do work division? How can we lay seeds to make different departments itself? Because earlier there was single technology department to provide services to the customer.
Mm.
So we further create established centers to give something of specialized nature, segregation or segment by IT work. At that time, it was not very relevant, but we did put a lot of homework. I remember working with him for over 2 months, laying out this strategy. And today, a part of our growth is because of that work division, because of what he could look ahead. I mean, 5 years before, 6 years before from today, that what could the working be 6 years down the line. And today, if you see, we have a SAP division that delivers. We have a separate digital business division which delivers. We have a private cloud or a managed services division. And we have
Mhm.
separate banking division which delivers for bank customers. And finally, another division for my smaller customers known as fast growing enterprises. So laying the seeds then, and then bifurcating the processes, and then leading to changes in the product and positioning, and the whole order to delivery system uh, was an experience, even though we had no such, no such nebula at that time. And then living through it and seeing it now prosper. Each of those divisions stands on its own. Each of those division has got more than 300 people each. And that was the most memorable thing, that outside of technology and process, there is also something known as strategic planning and people planning and product planning, which actually shapes the way company moves in the years. And this led us to sustain growths above 40% all through these years, even though we had changes in products, even though we had to bring in external leaders to lead it. But all in all, it still caters to our customers' requirements.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nama, because it's always very heartening to hear stories of how companies have grown from strength to strength and they've grown from size to size purely on the dint of their hard work, their vision, their capability, much like yourself. Moving a little bit away from the organization, though, I remember you telling me that you particularly enjoy the open road and driving. What have been your most memorable road trips in recent years or otherwise?
Okay, so typically I do long distance driving. Driving was a habit I picked up somewhere around about my mid career in armed forces, because my initial 4 or 5 years were there in all greens. I was part of the formations in uh, towards Tawang and all the Arunachal. So it was, everything was very very green. Everything was very naive, and there's a very clean environment. So as I moved to Delhi, the sort of city hustle and bustle, sort of, it put in a question mark that could I get a gateway. And from Delhi, you have all the beautiful places like Shimla, Manali, Kulu, and started somewhere there. Later on, as I moved to controllers from north, moved to Hyderabad. There's a lot of exploration here in Hyderabad. For a period of time, I was in Mumbai, so we used to regularly go to Lonavala or to Kashid beaches and all. And finally, when I settled down here in Hyderabad, I started to take larger trips. The most memorable one still is a 5,400 kilometers 14-day trip. We started from here. We went all the way to Bhopal, from Bhopal to Indore, from Indore to Ujjain, from Ujjain to Chittorgarh, Chittorgarh to Udaipur, from there on to Jodhpur, then Ajmer, then Jaipur, then came all the way to Agra, Mathura, and via Gwalior, it was a return trip. So it was memorable moments spent with family. At that time, I had only one child, and so son was there, wife was there, myself was there, and every day we used to drive different places. And it was like living off the road. There was no such concern per se of day to day life, and and when you drive, I drive a Jaguar. I have driven a XUV. I have driven, almost everything. I-20 to Maruti 800. Certain things click. Uh,
Mm.
the road goes by, you go, you taste cuisine of different places. Even a simple chai at each of the different location has got that local flavor. Or the way you explore off road, go off the road and explore territories. So, for example, in the same returning trip from Bhopal, we went all the way to Pachmadi, and then from there towards Balaghat. So, in between, we covered three tiger reserve sanctuaries. We spent 1 2 days there in each one of them. And on the returning trip via Nagpur, uh, here you have Kunta Falls as you enter the Telangana.
Yes.
And from there, then we made it home. So I mean, it's a different experience. That's what I can say. It is still a looker, given a chance, and especially after COVID, it's one of the most safest way to be enjoying your life.
I definitely agree with that, Mr. Nama, because even personally, even amongst my friends and my immediate circle, most people tend to travel by car nowadays because of the fact it's just that little bubble that you can be safe within. Um, Within your personal space, within your personal circle, who would you say is a friendly ear you sound ideas off of, who you bounce things off of for work or otherwise?
There are basically two groups where I can find bounce off my ideas. One is so in Allahabad, I studied in a college known as St. Joseph's College.
Uh-huh.
There's a group of friends from there. We were like 35, 36 in our 12th class. Out of them, 31 still remain in touch. Out of them, 3, 4 are very near. So whatever you think of, you bounce them. One guy is at DRM in railways. Another guy is in INA. He handles our IP addresses through which we communicate. Another guy is in Fitbit. So is like IP. And the fourth guy is in Intel. He's totally into technology. So whenever you feel that you have to sound them off, one of them will bring you onto the ground because they always have diverse views. And you don't feel it because, I mean, they're all childhood friends, no professional touch, and they keep on coming to home also. The second group belongs to the family. So my own brother is from IT, sister also is in IT, sister husband is in IT. So whenever, and they are more from software development piece of it, I'm more from system side of it. And so when I face those challenges, I feel I've done something huge. And when you discuss with them, you find that they already have a model which is like 4 or 5 years old and they have already done it. So that brings you to the ground saying that no, there are different ways to achieve the same thing. And we should not be very focused on only one way to achieve it. And over a period of time, it has developed into an understanding that in this world, there is more than one way to do anything. There is more than one religion. There is more than one country. There is more than one race. There is within that, you have more than one God. And therefore, uh, it can't be only my way or highway kind of thing. And that helps me deal a lot of time with the diverse views that I get from my teams. I look at them at a merit based, and that helps me to manage high skilled people also and groups of people also. So, in both ways. And thirdly, it also helps us to understand our customer viewpoint. So, you have an escalation, and the customer is saying something, and your technical teams are of a viewpoint. How do you bridge the gap? Well, that's our everyday life. And this helps us to understand both side of things as well as to interpret it in between and then make the suitable changes on our side to be able to cater to the needs. So this grounding has a very profound effect when you take it in your professional life. This grounding also has a very great impact in trying to find out ways and means of an obstacle that are in your place as you discuss it.
Uh, my last question to you, Mr. Nama, is a little bit of a hypothetical one. If you were to pen an autobiography and perchance it were to be picked up and made into a film, what would the name of that autobiography be and who would you want to play you on the silver screen?
Okay, so maybe Ajay Devgan.
Okay, nice thought.
So I'm not kind of flashy personality, sort of gets work done. I have also always been ensured that my bringing has put me as a humble guy, and maybe the earthly character there, as represented by the likes of Ajay Devgan. Not his, I mean, the police side of the things, not as a
Okay.
outstanding something achiever, but more like a to-do guy. He would place the autobiography could be how do you harness technology or I mean human initiatives to resolve day-to-day problems. because there is one difference that I have carried throughout my career is that I have always been working in the midst of innovations, which you call as leading edge, or going to come innovations, which you call as bleeding edge.
Right.
So even when I was in armed forces, so it was like ops center, and you are making networks for data dissemination and all. Or in Airtel, it was trying to find out how do you make break even of costs by using a technology platform with your partners. Or here, develop your own products, which can be replicated to customer, at the same time personalized for the customer. And each time when you hit a roadblock, you have either a person who's having initiative, or you have somebody out there innovating it, what we call today as a startup ecosystem. And if you're able to harness these innovations, the hundred of hours which are spent in trying to do statistical analysis and pointing out the noise and then possible things, I mean, that innovation brings in the freshness of it. It not only resolves one or two issues, because whosoever made that innovation, he also looks at 10 more things. So every time you adopt a simple innovation, that brings down a lot of issues. So how do you plug the best of the works from other guys to cater to your requirements and do your day-to-day or long-term plans would be something of the theme of that story.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nama. And with that, we come to the end of the first leg of this conversation.